today's video, we're going to talk about the notes that I think you should probably try to target when you improvise. Hello, my name is David. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping you develop your musical personality on the instrument in order to tell a better, more personal musical story. Today, we're working in the key of E major. Now, the concept can be applied to any key, any scale, any mode, but today we are in happy mode, right here. Happy, pleasant, everything's nice, everything is profound. That's the feeling that I get when I hear that key, E major, E Ionian. The backing track that you just heard can be downloaded for free. There's a link below. It'll take you to a sign-up page. Free sign up. Once you're signed up, you'll get access to this video and many other videos on the channel. Okay, before we get started with the lesson, you need to know that the notes you should target are the notes that you want to target. There's no set rules. You need to target the third in order to sound happy. No. Most people will feel the same type of feeling, but it's something that is personal, and I strongly believe in that. So keep that in mind as we go through the different classification of the notes that I think you should maybe target. Now, when I say the notes that you should target, those are the notes that are perceived by most people as stable notes, comfortable notes. There's no stretch within these notes. Here's a quick demonstration. So again, the track is in E major, and if I play an E major scale, I can essentially land on 7 different notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? I'm going to land on what I call a stable note. That note right there. Everything sounds stable, finished, comfortable. You can relax after this. As opposed to something a little more open, maybe something like this. It still sounds pretty, it matches the track, but it sounds a little more open. And it's an awareness. It's being aware of what the note will do over the chord that's being heard over. Now, this brings me to an important point. There are multiple chords in the backing track, and that's going to be the case for most songs you're playing over. We're going to simplify this. We're not going to think in terms of what chord am I playing over, but what is the interval that I'm landing over when I'm ending my phrase according to the main key. And that's because the chords that you heard are kind of going fast. I'm not staying very, very long on a chord. If the chord was heard for a minute, then that chord, even though it was part of a scale, general harmony, that chord becomes its own thing. Not here. I'll cover this a little bit more in a future lesson, but for now, just know that all the notes that are going to land on, we're going to consider those notes to be measured according to E, which is the root, which is the tonal center of everything. Everything is attracted to that root. Okay. The first step is to be comfortable with arpeggios. For this, we're going to use the caged system, which is a narrow system, just to visualize the arpeggio. And the arpeggio we're going to use is the one that has a root, that's the 1, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. And that's a traditional way of building arpeggios, but really, we could build any kind of arpeggio. An arpeggio is just a chord played one note at a time. But for this, we're going to use a major 7 arpeggio because the notes of that 4-note arpeggio are what I would consider stable. They're very accepted, and you can kind of rest on them and finish your phrase without feeling that something is missing. So here's the shape of that arpeggio. On that zone of the fretboard again, on the low E string we have fret 12. That's our root, that's E. Then on the next string we have the major 3rd and 5th on frets 11 and 14. Then we have the major 7th on the 4th string, fret number 13. So those are the 4 notes of our arpeggio. We're going to develop that 1 octave higher. So we have the root on the 4th string, 14th fret. Major 3rd is on the 3rd string, 13th fret. Then we have the perfect 5th on the 2nd string, 12th fret. Major 7th is on the 1st string, 11th fret. And we can end with that root on the 1st string, 12th fret. So altogether, this is what we have. And that's our arpeggio. The exercise is to get comfortable with the sound of these notes and perceive them as degrees of stableness. Some notes are going to be perceived as a lot more stable than others. Finished, restful, resolved. But keep in mind that these 4 notes are still within the box of we're resolving things here. We're not keeping things open. Here is a quick illustration. I'm going to play a sentence, a lick, an idea, using the E major scale. And I'm going to land on the first note of our arpeggio, which is the root, the 1. So check it out. Check this out. Listen to this. That's the 1. I'm going to do the same with the third. Still stable, right? You can end there. The 5th. Very pretty, very stable. And then the 7th. Heard that 7th? It's still stable in my mind, in my perception, it's stable. It's a little more open than the root, right? The 1 is very stable, very close-ended. Here's the root. Here's the major 7th. Still closed, but a little more open, right? It's very important to be able to target these notes and know where you're going. The landing note is more important, I think, than what happens before. And that's because the listener will remember the last thing you say. Carrot. What is the vegetable? Yeah, it's a point made. Okay, we are going to practice now blending the stable notes with the, I'll call them unstable, or maybe the question notes, notes that kind of like lets the listener wonder what is going to happen next. So in Western music, we have 7 notes, typically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We covered the 1, 3, 5, 7. So there are 3 notes that are missing, and I'm going to call those the open-ended question notes. So that's the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th. Okay, let's take them in order. The 2nd, so that's the 2nd note of the scale. Within that zone of the fretboard again, we have that 2nd on the low E string, fret 14. We also have it on the 3rd string, fret 11, and on the 1st string, fret 14. So these are the seconds. I'm going to create a sentence ending on that 2nd. See what it does. Very pretty, I think, still, but a little open-ended. You want something else. Maybe it's landing on the 1, which is very stable, or the 3rd. Okay, let's try the 4th. I want something else. I want this. I have a 3rd. If I leave it there, it's kind of open, right? That's for the 4th. The 6th. No, I want something else. Maybe the 5th or something like that. So you heard the difference, right? Particularly when I land on one of these notes on the 1, which is an E major. And that's important because when you're playing, if you can target these notes and have control over the perception of the listener, is the listener going to be satisfied, or am I going to create a little bit of tension in that listener so that he can beg the player for more? And that's how you can make sure that the listener pays attention to what you're saying. If all your phrases and sentences land on a very stable note, the listener is going to kind of doze off. And if all your phrases land on open notes, well, the listener is going to be confused. So it's kind of a balance, just like in the movies, right? There's tension and then release. And that's what you should do in music. That's really the core of telling your musical story. A story has ups and downs, and that's how you do it. Now, this was a very brief overview of the nature of some of these intervals, and I highly suggest that you check out the link below to download not only the backing track but also the charts, so that you can have a feel of how to play these and where the open and closed notes are. So do that, it's below. And also, I strongly suggest, if you have not yet done so, check out guitarinfusion.com. It's free, again, and that'll take you to a free music theory primer course, which explains all of those intervals in a very easy, simple to understand way. Check it out. Thank you for watching this video. I have more on the way, and if you don't want to miss any, you should subscribe below. Make sure you click the bell so that you can receive a notification whenever I release a new video. And also, see that? You should look at this one, this video right here. Check it out, whatever it is. It's good. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.